we have multiple major New York Knicks updates to discuss, as the New York Knicks have been very interested in trading for Kevin Durant, with reports of the team offering trades to the Phoenix Suns, and now the Knicks have been named the favorites for Kevin Durant, with a lot of discussion on who the New York Knicks do plan to trade for Durant and all of the truth behind this noise. And we're going to break all that down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. If you guys are part of that 75% that's not subscribed, we got daily New York Knicks videos coming out, a ton of coaching updates coming your way as well soon, as there are some more candidates involved and some more updates on that as well. So guys, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for all the support. Let's jump into the video. As we know from reports from a few days ago, the New York Knicks, they've been very interested in Kevin Durant. That's nothing new here. They were interested in him before Leon Rose came in. They're interested in him now. And all of that interest, that peaked at the NBA's trade deadline in 2025. Now, we all heard the reports. We all saw the news of Kevin Durant and the New York Knicks having that mutual interest between each other for a potential pairing in the second half of the season, with reports really coming out and revealing the truth on where Kevin Durant is at with this New York Knicks news. And, I mean, it was mentioned that Shams Charania said, "I will say this about Kevin Durant. There was mutual interest between Kevin Durant and the Knicks at the trade deadline. The Knicks made a big offer for KD." So there has been reports already. We've seen the Shams report. That is not the update. We already did the video on that. You can go check that one out as well. But just to refresh you guys, we know the New York Knicks are actually interested in Kevin Durant. This is not a smokescreen. The Knicks made an offer to the Phoenix Suns at the trade deadline to try to land Kevin Durant because they believe that this is a finals contending team. They believed they were going to make the NBA Finals last season, and because of that, what we saw were the Knicks ready to go all in on landing Kevin Durant to fully boost this roster and to make it as good as possible of a team so they could bring Kevin Durant in and really get things going. So seeing that that's been a real possibility has definitely been interesting. And then on top of that, you see that the New York Knicks have been named the favorites to land Kevin Durant, having plus 200 odds to land the NBA superstar, and you start to really understand this is not just a smokescreen by the New York Knicks. This is something that the New York Knicks see as a very real possibility for this team. The Knicks, there definitely are some conflicting reports on them in a general sense, like any NBA team, and a lot of us saw this Kevin Durant stuff as nothing to really consider. But now we're seeing that the Knicks are the favorites for Kevin Durant. We're seeing that they have found themselves as one of the top suitors for KD moving forwards. Now, the Houston Rockets, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Toronto Raptors also being named here as well. And there is some thoughts of why are the San Antonio Spurs not there, and we will get into the Spurs in a tiny bit. But we also see that Stephen A. Smith today went on First Take. Today, Monday, June 9th, went on to First Take and said for both Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo that the top five destinations for each of them, that the number one destination for each guy was the Knicks. Now, Giannis to the Knicks makes a ton of sense because Giannis loves New York. He's been seen in New York. There's all the noise surrounding Giannis to the Knicks that everybody would agree that it's probably where Giannis would choose if he was allowed to pick what team he was getting traded to. Obviously, trade packages play a part in that. The Knicks cannot offer what the Rockets can, so it does become a little bit more difficult. The Rockets have more leverage here. Meanwhile, for Kevin Durant, the Knicks being first is a bit surprising. We've seen Kevin Durant sort of take some shots at the Knicks over the years, despite the fact that his manager, Rich Kleiman, is a diehard New York Knicks fan, and the fact that Kevin Durant's dad is a Knicks fan, and that his aunt is a Knicks fan, and that all of them tried to get KD to sign with the Knicks in 2019. Ultimately, none of that happened. The Knicks ended up not signing Durant. They went with Julius Randle instead. I'm saying that like the Knicks chose that. They didn't. They just lost out to the Nets. The Nets won that free agency over them, and ended up working out better for the Knicks overall anyway. So now we look at Kevin Durant, 36 years old, being named for the Knicks as the number one suitor for him. You really start to wonder, first of all, is this just Stephen A. Smith being Stephen A. Smith? Or is there actually a good reason for this? Should the Knicks be the first option for Kevin Durant? Or should it be Houston? Should it be Minnesota? Should it be Detroit? Should it be Miami? Should it be San Antonio? There's other teams that make sense. Kevin Durant This is not the case for Giannis as much, and I'm not saying Kevin Durant's better than Giannis. He's not. Giannis is better. But Kevin Durant fits on any team. He's Kevin Durant. He could just slide in wherever. The man is just one of the most fluid players in history of basketball. He's 7 feet tall, could play the small forward or the power forward position, is one of the most fluent scorers in basketball. He doesn't really need the ball in his hands all the time to be an impact player as well. He can be that secondary ball handler. We saw that in Golden State where he played his best basketball. And yeah, I know some people are going to disagree with that because he won that MVP in OKC, and yeah, that was his best year in the NBA, but at the same time, Kevin Durant was at his most efficient when he was on that Golden State Warriors team. The Knicks have a lot of offense. There is a thought that KD would fit really well right in, or that things could go like Phoenix, and there's just too much offense, too much scoring, too many guys who want to score the ball, and it's not going to work out. It would have worked out in Brooklyn had they not gotten injured, but it is what it is. Sucks to be you, Brooklyn, but it does become this situation where if you want to trade for Kevin Durant, everything depends on what the package is. Because frankly, I understand this is insane. I'd rather the Knicks not trade OG Anunoby for Kevin Durant. I think OG fits better on the Knicks. I think there's no reason for the New York Knicks to make a deal like that. I think it makes more sense just to not trade for KD and to try to build up your bench unit instead of trading OG and Mitchell Robinson to make the money work to land KD. It feels like you're going all in on offense, saying screw defense, and I don't think that's going to work. I know the Pacers are in the finals, and to a degree, that's what they do. But at the same time, it's not a good idea to just say screw defense, specifically when Tom Thibodeau was your head coach. But also still now, like, if you're hiring Mike Brown as your head coach, then it makes a bit more sense. But still, I don't like the idea of that whatsoever, and I think that would be a massive mistake by the Knicks to go out and do. But we do know that Kevin Durant is very much available for trade. As Evan Sidery mentioned, trade dialogue has officially begun among teams interested in Kevin Durant. With the Suns, they're going to try to work directly with Durant and his business partner, Rich Kleiman, to find a new destination. The Rockets, Spurs, and Timberwolves are teams to monitor with serious interest. Notice that the Knicks have been left out in conversations on a guy putting up 26.6 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, getting over a block per game, and also getting 0.8 steals per game. He's shooting 53% from the field and 43% from 3. Kevin Durant is truly still one of the elite offensive players in basketball. However, the Knicks have 2 of those in Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, making things a bit more on the side of, all right, KD's great. I'm not saying he's not, but at the same time, is that what you want to do in this offseason? Instead of just building up a bench unit or trying to go for Giannis, you're going to trade for a guy who is just going to be sort of redundant with what this team already has. It does not feel like the right move, if you ask me. I think the Knicks should focus more on being well-rounded with a better bench than focusing on landing Kevin Durant for some of your better defensive talents. Or you could go the other stranger route and trade Karl-Anthony Towns, like this Bleacher Report trade proposed. Dan Favale, I have no idea why he proposed this trade where the Knicks would give up Karl-Anthony Towns and some draft capital to where they get Kevin Durant. Phoenix gets DeJounte Murray, Yves Missy, Kelly Olynyk. On top of that, they get their own 2026 first-round pick, Washington's right to swap, Indiana's 2026 first, New Orleans' first-round pick, with a top 9 protection, a 2028 first-round swap between the least favorable of Brooklyn, New York, and Phoenix via New York, and Toronto's 2031 via New Orleans. I understand why New Orleans would give up that if they're getting Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't understand why the Knicks are giving up so much to give up Karl-Anthony Towns for Kevin Durant when the Knicks have way more time on Karl-Anthony Towns' contract. And yes, it's a big contract, but are we going to act like because it's a big contract, the Knicks should just let Karl-Anthony Towns walk and instead take on a guy who's had a bunch of injuries recently, is 36 years old, and is going to be asking for a contract extension that's going to be the same size, if not bigger, than Karl-Anthony Towns' current contract? It makes no sense. It's an argument that doesn't add up. On top of that, we know that Kevin Durant has spoken glowingly on Jalen Brunson after Brunson had that 50-point game when he shot 9 for 9 from 3 in December of 2022, saying that he's a Hall of Fame player by the end of his career, and he's playing up there. And it makes sense why Durant would be interested in going to the Knicks. It makes sense why the Knicks would be interested in going for Kevin Durant. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the simple phrase of, well, it's Kevin Durant. And honestly, that's an argument in itself. We know this. But at the same time, it does not make sense with what the Knicks would have to give up. Why would you give up Cat? The man put up 25 and 12 in the Eastern Conference Finals. When's the last time Kevin Durant made the conference finals? when he was on the greatest stacked up team in history of basketball. By a wide margin, that was the most stacked team in history. At least in, if you want to say Boston was when there was one team, essentially, when it was the Boston Celtics and everybody else, sure, you could say that Bob Cousy, Bill Russell, 6 other Hall of Famers, you could say that was the most stacked up team ever because they had 8 Hall of Famers on them. At the same time, some of those guys were Hall of Famers because they were there for that 8 straight championship run that the Celtics had because there was 8 teams in basketball to begin with. Now, I understand the Knicks have only won championships when there was not too many more teams than that in the 70s. So I'm not like hating on Boston or anything, though we did beat them this year. And on top of that, you just look at this and wonder why the hell would you trade that away? Karl-Anthony Towns just proved he could play in the conference finals. He's done it 2 years in a row now. Kevin Durant hasn't been to the conference finals since he was on a stacked-up Golden State Warriors team that he left for after blowing a 3-1 lead because he wanted to choke in games 5 and 6. I'm not saying Kevin Durant is not one of the best players in basketball when he's healthy. He is. But there's a ceiling to the impact that he's had since he's left Golden State. He's also been injured a good amount. He's 36. He's got 1 year left in his contract. He could easily say, nah, screw the Knicks, I don't like him, and just leave. And then you don't have Karl-Anthony Towns, you don't have Kevin Durant, and you don't have a second star, and that's just Jalen Brunson, who's evidently going to be upset that you botched it. So, the Knicks, I don't see the point of it. At the same time, we've seen DraftKings dispute the other odds as they have San Antonio as plus 190 favorites, and then Houston at plus 210, and the Timberwolves and Knicks both at plus 600. To me, my guess is that he's going to end up in San Antonio, so this makes more sense. But we will see what happens, and we will update you guys when it does go down. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We will get back to some coaching stuff now. I was actually going to do a coaching video, then this came out. So we do got coach updates coming imminently. Guys, like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and go Knicks.